Good day. You have joined in with the Speakers Bureau. I am Dr. Donna Mills, one of 5 St. Lucie County School Board members, and we have developed a program called the Speakers Bureau. And the reason why is because we want to encourage our community, inspire our community, educate our community, uplift our community to be the best that each individual can be, starting with the children all the way to the elderly. So that is what this program's mission is. It is to share the stories of others so that you can relate, you can understand that we can relate, that you're not alone, that others have experienced what you may be going through right now. And something possibly will be said that will change the path of life or strengthen you on the path that you're on to do better, to be better, to make better for yourself. And so that is why these people, these guest speakers come on to share their story to encourage you. And they're very open about things, their challenges and how they got from A to Z in spite of those challenges. So today we have former County Commissioner Kim Johnson, Mr. Johnson. He is currently a specialist for Eckerd, and he's a community engagement specialist, as well as just so many other things. He's an author.
Yes.
That he's just written, I believe, his first book? Second book.
And I have probably 3 on standby.
All right.
Yes.
So we have an author here,
Yes.
and our last guest talked about the importance of the arts.
Yes.
And so just he's a well-rounded individual with many gifts and
Right.
talents.
Thank you.
He's also an inspirational speaker. I know
Yes.
that personally myself. You didn't tell me that, but I know
Right.
that. So, Mr. Johnson, welcome to the Speakers Program, and we want to thank you ahead of time before we say anything else for your attendance here, because we know your busyness and we know
Right.
you've moved out
Right.
several things to be here. So we want to acknowledge that
Yes.
and thank you so much for
Well, I want to thank you for having me, number one. And number two, I appreciate you, quote unquote, being the Oprah of our community, creating opportunities like this for young people to match their mentality with those who are like myself, who had the same mentality that they had, and understanding that school is there for development. You're there to be nurtured, you're there to grow, and there will be many opportunities afforded to you as a result of finishing what you start. And I tell people this all the time: never diminish what you finish, only understand you are smart if you start to do something.
That's right. Thank you very much for that. Now we're going to start out asking you about your job now.
Right.
Why have you chosen this particular field at this moment in your life?
Right.
As well as why did you choose to run for St. Lucie County Commission?
So I'm one that, I grew up in Sheridan Plaza in the 80s. In the 70s.
So you're a
on into
product
the
from
80s.
here.
I'm a product from here. And so during my time that I was growing up in Sheridan Plaza, I'm one that I never wanted for anything because both of my parents were very hardworking people. And I spent a lot of time helping my friends, giving to my friends, because in Sheridan Plaza, we grew up as family. And all households were family. And that was our mentality. So I've taken that same conviction and that same commitment to always help people. That's why all my jobs have pretty much been serving and servicing people to be better. I was a former teacher in this county, former county commissioner, as you stated. Now I'm doing community engagement specialist work for Eckerd Connects Project Bridge, and I'm actually working in Central as well as South Florida, dealing with about 12 different circuits. And I go in and I raise funds for the organization. I also help assist with partnerships and memorandums of agreement and understanding with different businesses to support the youth that Eckerd actually serves. And we do a lot of things that empower youth who have gotten in trouble to not only say they're going to get a second chance, but actually give them the resources needed to help them in their second chance. And so that's kind of what I do, and I'm graciously grateful for God to have allowed me to have a heart for people, because I learned this. You know, you can chase money, you can chase stuff, and if you like somebody, boyfriend, girlfriend, you can chase them too. But I think that you're really at peace when you don't have to chase anything or anybody, and you have the conviction to know who you are, to know what you've been called to do,
So true.
and begin to do it.
So true. So you mentioned that you grew up at Sherrington Plaza. What
Yes.
schools did you attend?
Ooh, the famous Garden City Elementary
All right.
was Garden City Elementary was my second school. My first school was Watson Kindergarten, down the street here. Watson Kindergarten. It was a private kindergarten.
Okay.
And one of the crazy things about it, for lunch they used to order out McDonald's, and so we had
So
McDonald's during the
remember
day.
that, don't you? As a kindergarten.
Yes, kindergarten. So, but yeah, I went to kindergarten at Watson
That made
Kindergarten.
the most impact on your life,
Very,
or what?
very impactful. Also, Garden City was the second school, and then my education transitioned into Morningside Elementary.
Okay.
I was a part of that opening up of that school. I was in the fourth grade at the time, and then we went to Floresta.
Oh,
And
so
broke
you-
Floresta
wow,
open.
You started from the
as well.
beginning.
Yes, yes. So these are many moons, as they say, many
Floresta,
years
okay.
back.
Okay.
But you know,
And then after Floresta, let's stay on the path there.
after Floresta, I landed at Lincoln Park. So Lincoln Park during that time was a middle school, 7th and 8th grade, and so you had three high schools here. You had John Carroll, Westwood, and Central. And those are the only three high schools here. And so most of the kids that went to any of those high schools went to either Dan McCarty Middle or Lincoln Park Middle.
Okay.
And so that was 7th and 8th grade. Then I leave there, I go to Westwood. And I would tell any kid, you know, I used to be a class clown. I used to joke a lot, play a lot. And probably some people look at me today and can't believe some of the things that I've been able to accomplish, because I never really took a lot of things seriously. I was really dejected and really acting out and playing out. My father got killed when I was 12. My mom was raising basically four of us. My brother actually lived with one of her grandparents, but he was still with us from time to time. But it was a very challenging moment for me, because my dad was my heart. And, you know, it's one of those situations when I realized that my mom was giving her best, and I knew that I need to at least make some changes. And so it wasn't hard to do, because bad habits come quick, but the ability to get rid of them comes slow. But you have to start somewhere. It's almost like a junkie room. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I kind of started picking up some of the pieces and started doing some things. And what kind of turned it around for me, I was walking down the hall one day at middle school, and because my father got killed when I was in 7th grade. I think I was in the 8th grade during this time. And I heard his voice say, "I want you to go places I never got a chance to go, do stuff I never got a chance to do, and have success I never got a chance to have." And that was my change moment.
Wow.
And so,
Wow.
yeah.
And so you said that was your change moment.
Yes,
So you believe you heard from your father.
definitely. I heard the voice clear as day, and I knew it was God audibly speaking through my father's voice, encouraging my heart, and I could hear it. And it, you know, when you hear somebody's voice in your ear and nobody else is around, it kind of startles you a little bit, because you really don't know what to expect. But you know, we live in a natural society, but we live in a spiritual world. So I'll leave it at that.
Wow. What is your best childhood memory?
You know, I started thinking about some things and I look back over my life, this one moment in my life stands out above the rest. I remember we used to go to Alabama because my grandmother comes from Alabama and my grandfather comes from North Florida. And we have about 180 acres of land in a place called Gordon, Alabama, just outside Dothan, Alabama. So we would go there for family reunions. Now, this is the first one that I actually remember as a kid. And so when we went there that year, I remember all of my family being together. My mom and dad were together. My aunts and uncles were together. All the kids were together. My grandparents were alive. And I never did forget how much fun I had with them that weekend. And it almost seemed like an eternity in it because I didn't want it to stop. And it was a moment that I could stay right there for many days.
You were about how old?
I was probably about 6 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, probably about 6 years old.
It's incredible how, when we have those special memories, we could be very young
Yes.
and hold on.
Yes.
And those memories can carry us
Right.
a long way.
I agree.
Yeah. One of our speakers said that one of his memories, childhood memory, was a teacher in the kindergarten picking him up.
Wow.
And how that made such a tremendous difference because that's all he remembers, that they picked him up.
Wow.
And that impacted him all through his life. So the family outing
Yes.
that you had and everybody together and everybody loving one another
Right.
and you
Right.
know, and protecting one another
Yes.
and just having a ball made a tremendous impact. What is your background, your education background?
So I finished high school here, Westwood High School, got my diploma, went over to Orlando and wanted to take some classes over there at Valencia because eventually I wanted to go to University of Central Florida and play football. So I took it's kind of funny because I took the placement test for classes at Valencia Community College. And they wanted me, the major that I wanted to do, they wanted me to start off with some preparatory classes because I needed to prove myself based upon my test scores. And I would tell anybody, I had low focus. Part of my low focus was I was more committed to wanting to play sports and had my mind on that than I was trying to focus on getting my books or doing my best. One of the things that always.
And because of that focus, how did it hinder you? Because you had that focus. So many of our
Right.
young people now have that same focus.
Yes.
It's all about sports. It's
Yes.
all about football or
Yes.
basketball or whatever the
Yes.
sport is. And sports are excellent and good,
Right.
but they want to become the next famous football player or basketball player,
Right.
what have you. And they're not concentrating on their academics. How
Right.
does that, based on your experience, how does that make a difference for an individual?
So let me say this. I remember watching these commercials when I was a kid, and you have your favorite toy come on television. And that favorite toy, I've seen multiple favorite toys that I like come on television. Well, here's the issue. Guess what they said at the end of the commercial? Batteries are not included. So the toy never works without the battery. So guess what? Your opportunity for sports never work without your education.
Okay.
Because your education empowers you to play sports. And so I had to come under that mentality to understand that I couldn't have one without the other. And how did I do that? I had to slow down and say, if I really want something, what do I really have to do to get it? You know, as we've all used this term, keep it real. A lot of people keep it real with other people, but do you keep it real with yourself? You can tell other people what you want them to do and what they need to do, but will you do
Yes.
what you need to
So
do
true.
as it relates to you? because that's going to empower you to make a difference in somebody else's life.
I think people who introspect like that are usually more successful,
Yes,
even.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, okay, so let's go back to your, I don't think you finished saying your education
Yes,
path.
okay. So I go to Valencia, take the preparatory class. I got a friend of mine who calls me and say, I'm going to North Carolina, to Shawan College. We'd love for you to come. I'm going over there to play football, and we can go together. And so I ended up going to Murfreesboro, North Carolina. I flunked out my first semester of college. Why? I couldn't afford the books. I leave there. I got an invitation from another friend of mine to come to a college in Mississippi. I get over there. My financial aid was able to pay for my first college, but it wasn't able to pay for books. I get over to the other school. I was able to get financial aid that paid for my college and my books.
Okay.
So I get there, and I'm already one semester behind because I basically effed out. So I turned around that next semester, and I had to prove something to myself. I did okay, and then I had to take. Let me back up. I had to take 2 classes so I could play football. I had to get 2 C's in those classes. Well, I ended up getting a C and a D in summer school for those classes, so I couldn't play. So that was a turning moment, and that was a change moment in my life as well, because this change moment actually challenged me. Are you going to just be status quo and just be a regular student and try to lick your wounds? Or are you going to go for it? I said, I'm gonna go for it. And I'm gonna graduate in 3 semesters. And guess what? I graduated in 3 semesters. I was on honor roll 2 semesters. I took 21 credit hours my last semester.
Really, really serious.
Really, really serious.
And that's what it takes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when it was taken away from me, it actually had the ability to empower me to understand who I really was and find out some stuff about myself that I didn't know.
So we should not get discouraged when we're having a rough time. That's what I'm hearing.
Right.
That you took that rough time and you turned it around for your good.
Exactly.
And you learned a lesson through it. So even that was good.
Yes. Yes. As a matter of fact, we were talking about the book I just wrote. In that book, I talk about a chapter called AIM Agent. And in that chapter, 3 men go out in the wilderness one at a time. The first one has a chainsaw, chop the tree down in 10 minutes. Second man has an axe, chop the tree down in an hour. Third man doesn't have a knife or machete. He has a fork, and he's pecking for 365 days. Pecking, pecking, pecking. Well, he was disappointed and hurt because his tool of use. And he was more focused on his tool of use and giving himself heartache because he had to use that tool opposed to the other tools that the others had. So he pecked, he pecked, he pecked, he pecked. Guess what he said 365 days later? The same thing that the other two said, timber, and the tree falls.
Yeah, I get you.
But he learns
Yeah.
being in the wilderness, tapping on that tree every day.
Persistence.
Persistence.
Yeah. Regardless, not believing that he did not have what it took to
Exactly.
get that tree down. He believed that he had it.
Exactly.
He just had to be persistent and not give up.
And that's why the chapter is called AIM Agent, because you have to utilize your ability, you have to utilize your inspiration, and you have to master something so you can help somebody else.
Okay, is this book out yet?
Yes, it is. It's called the WUP movement, the WBP movement.
Okay.
And what I'm excited about the WUP movement is because it's a civil responsibility movement.
Okay.
When I got off the board of county commissioners, the first thing that I looked at was poverty. I was trying to figure out, what do I want to do? And I wanted to attack poverty. And I knew in the African American community you have a substantial amount of poverty in some parts of the communities. And so I decided that I wanted to attack it, because when I looked at numbers, $1 stayed in the Asian community for 30 days or a month, Jewish community for 20 days, Caucasian community for 17 days, African American community for 6 hours. So when I began to look at those stats, I understand how we can make, I'll say it like this here. For America to be where it needs to be and continue to be the great apple of everybody's eye in other countries, and strengthen our power and ability. When every community is strong, we are stronger, and we are greater. And so I wanted to attack poverty, so I understand that when there are no businesses in these communities, when there are no educators living in these communities, and when there are no governmental officials in these communities will do business, education, and government. You know what that is? BEG. These communities will find themselves begging because they don't have these people or things in place.
Wow, that's pretty deep.
Yeah.
and very true.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that book coming out.
Thank you.
You said, did you say it's completed now?
Yes, it's completed. I've done a pre-release of it. We're doing our pre-release campaign right now, and then we're going to transition into our full release. And I look for a full release by Thanksgiving. But we really want 1,000 or more to participate because we have to unlock the book campaign. I can't unlock it until I can't unlock the physical copies until I have 1,000 digital copies sold, because I want people not to be curious. I want them to be serious. This is a movement to come back to the community and to revitalize it and commit yourself with the gift, talent, abilities, or what I would call time, talent, and treasured successes to invest in other people.
Yes. Tell us, what is one of the most defining moments in your life? And you said so much already, but and you can go back and re-emphasize if that was the most defining moment.
Right. You know, I would say probably the most defining moment in my life was when I realized that I had to be my dad was great. He was a great father. He was a great man. But he and my mother were not married. My most defining moment of my life was marrying my wife.
Okay.
And actually understanding and learning from her how to be the husband that she wanted. And I'm still working on that. And I will continue to work on that, because as she's growing, I need to grow better.
Well, let me tell you something. I've been together with my husband for 47 years, and we're still learning. You know, it's amazing how love can cover a multitude of sins.
because
we're
you
still, you know, you love the person so much, the two of you together, that you just kind of overlook those things that could cause division and divorce eventually. Because if you don't, it's going to lead to that, and it's both partners that have to be doing it. It can't just be one. It's got to be both working together. Even with, you know, I say my husband and I have these very strong personalities, okay? So it's not, you know, and
sounds like me and my wife.
So we have to work together to make it happen.
And you know what's so amazing about it is that I've learned how to listen to the conviction that God gives me. First of all, I would tell anybody, I don't want to birdcage my wife. Okay.
I don't think she'll let you.
She definitely won't let me do that.
Yeah,
but
you know.
but I wouldn't want to birdcage her, because, you know, she has to be free to explore. You know, I'm reminded of Dora the Explorer, right?
Yeah.
Dora has to be free to explore. She has to be free to explore and be who she is. And I understand that. And I would tell them, and I talk to men from time to time about marriage and so on and so forth, and I advise people from time to time. But I tell them, look, your relationship with them is horizontal, but your relationship with God is vertical. And when you're getting vertical information from Him, then there's no reason for you to fight a situation that's not winnable or tenable at the time. And so I understand that in the Garden of Eden, when we think about it, the first 6 days, God created an atmosphere, and then He placed man and woman in the garden. Why? Because He was creating an atmosphere of peace. Every man must set the atmosphere before the family comes. Okay,
well, we can see you're a very spiritual man. We can see that, but it's strange that you would even mention the birdcage, because it's something that I describe to my husband, is that I have to be able to fly.
Yes.
I cannot.
Yes.
I cannot be caged like a bird. So I've used that. So I have to
Yes.
fly, and He has given me permission
That's
to
beautiful.
fly.
My wife
Yeah.
said the same exact words. Let me fly. And it's kind of funny. Like you and I, and your husband and my wife, we have a lot in common. It's kind of funny when I think about it, because the conversation that I've had with him and the conversation that I have with you and the conversation that I had with my wife. But when you look at life, the most valuable thing in life, and I would tell anybody this, and the Bible talks about it as well, there's nothing more powerful than love. And love covers a multitude of wrongdoing. But if you love somebody long enough, and watch this, when you love somebody long enough, when they get grown enough, they'll stop doing wrong and they'll turn to the love because you did right by them. And that's where we change hearts. We change hearts over time, not overnight.
Listen, our conversation has been wonderful, but we have a couple of minutes left.
Okay.
So what I want to know is, what teacher in school made the most impact on you, and why?
Wow. You know, I actually have two. The first, Miss Johnny Mae Birch. She still lives. Her husband recently passed, and my heart goes out to her, as well as him. And he was a great teacher as well. But she was
What grade was this?
second grade. She was everything that I needed in second grade. She really was. And the second was Kathy Basile,
Wow.
who's no longer with us.
Yes.
Those ladies impacted my life so.
And Kathy Basile was what grade?
Kathy was fourth grade. And she loved on me.
Thank you so much for mentioning those names and being
Yes.
right here in this community.
Yes.
You grew up here, and people know those names.
Yes,
And for you to sit here today
yes.
and say these two people made the most important difference in your life and impact on your life.
It really did.
Yeah. And why is it? Why were they the two that you've chosen? Kathy Basile and
Miss Johnny Mae Birch.
Johnny Mae Birch.
So when I was in the second grade, Miss Birch, she treated me and she treated all her kids as if they were her kids at home. She showed us love as need be. She showed us patience as need be. But she also showed us chastisement when need be. And she reminded me in many ways, not someone that was an exact replica of my mother, but someone that could be a mother to me.
Okay, now talk about the other one, because we
Miss
have
Kathy-
like 30
okay,
seconds.
Real quick, Miss Kathy Basile, she exuded love every day. She wanted to see every student learn. She wanted to see every student read. She wanted to see every student accomplish something. And she challenged us every day. And she said, you can do this. And she said, you will do this. And I'm not accepting anything less.
Wonderful. Now, we are running out of time. But again, we want to thank you, Mr. Johnson,
Thank
for
you.
your time and this interview. And when I say we, I mean the entire St. Lucie County School Board,
Yes.
superintendent, myself, and the community, really. We look forward to that book coming out. And we want to, again, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
your new book. And thank you so much.
Appreciate it.